230 kilos for the boat, which for us, being fairly novices on the boat,
I don't know if we can say that you guys are novices.
I think it was
maybe
good,
compared to Uncle Rick.
Yeah, but
I mean, if we are completely honest, we've been doing.
And I can only imagine, Barry, and this is kind of a question as well. I can only imagine, with all your experiences on the bank, the quality of fish that come off the boats compared to the quality that comes off the bank. And I would just assume that it's the deeper water that we're able to target, and the pre-feeding, I suppose, makes a big difference. I mean, we had a scenario a couple of years ago where we were fishing an SA Championships at the Broomhof Dam. I'm sure Barry can attest that it can get quite stressful at times when people are not on the same page. No, but that happens, I suppose, in anything. But yeah, like I said, once again,
doing this. My dad says, go. And I'm like, I don't know, you're talking about go left or go right. Is it the front? Is it the back?
I never knew it so good.
Welcome to another episode of The Original Podcast with me, your host, Sakkie van die Kerk. So, welcome to another episode of The Original Podcast. Okay, so this episode has been by R1000 Voucher in Pretoria. They've been our title sponsor now for a couple of weeks. So we just want to say thank you to R1000 for sponsoring another episode. So if you are in the market for a vehicle, anything from a small city get around all the way through to a top-of-the-line 4x4, and can tow these boats that we are going to talk about today, don't hesitate. Contact the guys there from R1000 Motors in Pretoria. Their email address and their website will be linked in the description down below. So go there, go have a look on their website. There's everything that your heart can desire when it comes to a vehicle. Tonight we have a full episode for you guys. It is an episode that we've been planning and thinking of since we started the whole podcast. It's a type of fishing that's really close to my heart and definitely close to my dad's heart, especially after the last couple of months. So today's episode, we will be talking about light tackle boat. So if that is something that you would want to know more about, stick to the rest of the show and you will definitely find a few useful tips. If you are not into light tackle boat, I think this is probably still a good episode for you to follow. Because like everything else, we can take the tips that we do on the boat and just implement it from the side or from wherever you fish. But like normal, Dad, welcome to tonight's episode.
Thanks, Sakkie. Yeah, it's really something that's a bit of a passion for me nowadays. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to pick up some tips from our guest, who's been doing this for a lot longer than what I am. And I think more than likely I'm going to jot down a couple of notes when I watch the actual program later. So thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Okay, and then like my dad said, our guest tonight has a lot of experience in the field. But before I say too much, let's hear it from him. Uncle Rick, welcome to The Original Podcast.
Hey, Sakkie, how you doing there? Hello, Barry. Yeah, looking forward to speaking to you guys, and my passion. Absolutely love it. Yeah. So ask away, Sakkie. Ask away, Barry.
Uncle Rick, don't you want to run through your history? Where did you start? How long ago did you start? What have you achieved? Quickly give us a run through.
Sure, Sakkie. Well, I started like I think most of the guys that I've met in the LTB started on the bank. I bank fished for many, many years at a club level. Even as far back as 1978, I was involved in provincial angling. Started going to SA Champs and stuff. As a senior, the girls and that sort of thing came along, so I gave up fishing for probably about an 8-year period. But then as a senior, I fished a lot at club level. I didn't really go on to provincial with the bank angling. And then must be roughly 25 years ago, I was invited to join a friend of mine on the boat fishing for the Mpumalanga province, and I haven't looked back since. I've been to, must be 12 or 14 SA champs and probably 16 or so Binnenlands championships at this stage. So, yeah, I've done a bit of fishing off the boat in my time. Yes, Zach.
I've been wanting to do these things live for a while now, but every week we have a different problem and something like that. So I never think we can actually go live to do this. It would be nice if we get to the point where we have a few episodes in a row that it goes completely smooth. We can maybe do a live, but unfortunately, the technical skills are not there yet. But we will get there. Uncle Rick, thank you for your patience.
No problem, Saki.
We'll get it sorted eventually. Okay, 2 weeks ago we did the giveaway for the half-liter Petit Janine and the half-liter X Factor, and the response we got back from that was really well. So we thought it well to do another giveaway. This time around, we partnered up with Western Accessories, and we got a 1,000 Rand voucher from Western Accessories. So if you want to stand a chance to win that 1,000 Rand voucher from Western Accessories, stay tuned. Listen till a bit later in the show. We'll give the details of how you can stand a chance to win that 1,000 Rand voucher. Okay, let's go back to the episode. Okay, so let's go to the first point of order for today. Let's start with the weekend wrap up. It's a perfect Monday to record this because you guys had your second comp for the year. So Dad, let's go over to you. You guys had a monstrous weekend, to say the least. Mom broke a record again and everything. So don't you want to quickly run through what happened this weekend on Grikkie, your boat?
Yeah, Saki, what a weekend, eh? We started off with a normal routine where we got to the farm on Friday morning or Friday afternoon and decided to go and feed. And we had everything the usual, 4 buckets of kaboomilies that was cooked nice and soft, and 2 protein blocks, and that's what we fed. We went to our normal spot. It was a bit shallower because the dam level dropped, but we just moved in a little bit further into the dam till we got to 5 meters, and that was a depth that we decided on. And we fed there. Next morning we got to the spot and we could immediately see that the water was alive and there was definitely a lot of fish. We started off with our platties like we normally do, immediately chucked out 4 platties, and it was a couple of minutes and the first one went and we caught a couple of barbel, but nothing really big. Leah got one that I think if the fish were in a better condition, it should have been well over 10, 12, 13 kilos. But the fish had a massive head and the rest of the body was really skinny. For that reason, I've got no idea. I think it's a sick fish. I really think there's something wrong with the fish.
I saw the photo. It was really not skinny.
It was to such an extent that we did not even... No, we never took a photo of that one, I think. Yeah, I can't remember. But in any case, the fish were not in a bad condition. It was in a bad condition. And then eventually, I think it must have been maybe 8 or 9 kilos, where I think otherwise that fish would have been 11 or 12 kilos. But in any case, so we caught a couple of barbel, nothing really big. And then we said, well, okay, we could see it's getting slower and slower, and we switched over to the carp. And right from the word go, we were onto the carp. And I can't recall that we ever, for the rest of the day, ever had time where we could really go and sit and say, okay, let's just wait for a bite. We never had it. Either Leah or myself were busy the whole time. And if I'm not busy, then I'd land one for her quickly and help her to get the rod back in. So we were really busy. Eventually, at just before about 11:30, I said to Leah that it's time for new nets. So we took out all 4 rods because it was just chaos at that point in time. And we switched over to other nets. So we had rods out for, I'd say, about 15 or 20 minutes, just in order to loosen the nets and move them to the front of the boat and get other nets on for both of us. And then we started again, and immediately we put it in, and the fish were just there. And we carried on like that till about 20 past 2, 25 past 2, somewhere around there. And we decided that's it. Although we can fish till 3, we're just going to call it quits and rather make sure that we get to the weigh-in in time than to battle to get all this fish on the boat and get the anchors back in the boat and everything done, and then you're late and get disqualified. So we stopped early and made sure, and we got there only with about 5 or 7 minutes to spare. But then obviously, like I'm sure a lot of people must have seen, Leah broke AHV's ladies record again. She had a bag of 118 kilos. My bag weighed 111. So the two of us, I think if we take the grams together, I think we should crack the 230 kilos for the boat, which for us, being fairly novices
I don't
on
know
the
if
boat,
we can say that you guys are novices.
I think it was
Maybe
good, but
compared
we
to
were-
Uncle Rick.
yeah, but in comparison, yeah, that's what I say. In comparison to 25 years,
Because I mean,
then,
if
then
we
we're
are
still
completely
learning.
honest, we've been doing with the light tackle boat. We've been doing this now for a good, I'm gonna say 8 years, Dad, 7, 8 years. Because I'm
Yeah,
out of school now, 12 years. We fixed up the first boat about 3 years after when I was like my third year. Well,
yeah, I'd
8,
say
9 years.
about somewhere around
I did
8
it a
years.
little while before you guys got really into it. I think I got into it a little bit before you guys. So I fished, just for the listeners out there. So before my mom and dad fished it, I fished it alone for quite a while. It was just something that I wanted to do. With the previous boat was small enough for me to manage it on my own quite easily. And it was just my little bit of a breakaway where I would take the boat for the weekend, go fish the club comps. I was fishing. I fished leagues. You guys haven't fished leagues yet. I fished the leagues at 1 year with.
We're waiting for you, Barry. We're waiting for you.
Oh.
No.
I think you just need to ask a little bit longer, but I think you'll get there.
Well, the results speak for themselves, but I mean, your mom and dad, Saki, they have made great strides. I mean, you know, in every fishing club and every fishing organization, there's always those guys that you're worried about. You know, when you go to a club comp, you ask, how's so-and-so doing? How's so-and-so doing? And now Barry's definitely up there, and Leo, with those guys that everyone wants to know how they're going today, how they're going, kind of a benchmark of how the day's going. So, yeah, you guys really have made strides, Barry. I mean, there's no denying that. Eh?
Uncle Rick, how did you do this weekend? Because you were there as well. You were fishing with your lighty on the boat.
Yeah, myself and Daniel also pretty much Friday afternoon we went a little bit deeper than your mom and dad. We actually, Barry and them go left out of the AHV. We went right, probably 12 kilometers from the launch. A spot that I normally sit in, as Barry mentioned, the spot that I normally sit in is about 9, and I found it to be just over 7 this week. But I decided to stick in that 7 meters of water, and I'm glad that I did. We didn't quite get the results that Creaky got. I think I weighed 30-odd fish for 85 kgs. My son got, I think it was about 26 fish for 80-odd kgs. So all in all, it was a great day. I mean, you know, but like I said to Barry earlier on, we also got to a point where we had a dead patch, and that's something that I have to work on, because we were very quiet for a period of about 2 hours. And I wish I knew why, but, you know, sometimes when that happens in LTB, it's for the reason that the barbel have moved on to the carp feed. But we did all the right things. We put our platties in at that stage, but it just didn't seem to be the thing. We also started off early in the morning with the platties, and the barbel were immediately on the go. I mean, for some reason, I lost about 5 and landed 4 in the first. By 7:30, I had 4 barbel and I'd lost 5 already. But Daniel didn't really start for the barbel. He went straight for the carp, and he was already on about 4 or 5 carp. So that's when I decided, no, we had to catch carp. We did all the feeding, and yeah, so I also started fishing for the carp. And yeah, it was truly a nice day. I mean, your dad will tell you, and you've seen, Saki, the quality of the carp And I can only imagine, Barry, and this is kind of a question as well, I can only imagine, with all your experiences on the bank, the quality of fish that come off the boats compared to the quality that comes off the bank. And I would just assume that it's the deeper water that we're able to target, and the pre-feeding, I suppose, makes a big difference.
Well, Uncle Rick, I can tell you one thing. I can't understand that whole story, because yesterday we went back Saturday afternoon after the weigh-in. We took 2 buckets of millies again and one protein block, and we went to exactly the same spot, and we fed that again on the same spot, because we had a guest that came to visit us yesterday, Dwayne Webb, came through yesterday, and we sat on exactly the same spot. And we started off the morning with the platties again, and we caught a couple of barbel, but again nothing really big. And then I said to him, "No, it's a waste catching 2 kilo barbel now. Let's go for those big carp." And it was completely quiet. We couldn't get a carp till about, I'd say, must have been very very close to about 10 o'clock before we got the first carp. Then my first 3 or 4 carp were definitely under a kilo, of which the first one I think must have been about 150 or 200 grams.
How do you explain that?
So, and that is something that I've never had in my life before.
How does one explain that?
And then it was just like a switch at about 12 o'clock, and boom, all of a sudden, 2, 3, 4 kilo, 2, 3, 4 kilo. And the fish started biting. So I don't know if it was weather related. I don't know if it is. I said to Leah, I was wondering, we cooked the feed on Thursday like we normally do, and we fed it on Friday. And I had the 2 extra buckets that we kept, so they got a bit sour already. But now we fed that the previous night, so surely that sourness, if I can put it that way, should have been gone by the next day, and should not affect. I'm sure there must be fish feeding on it. But and then why all of a sudden, at 12 o'clock, boom, into those big ones?
When did you put down that second lot of feed, the 2 buckets in the block? Did you put that down Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon?
No, Saturday afternoon after the weigh-in.
Oh, you went after the weigh-in and put the feed down again.
Yeah. I've had to go to the Rondavel quickly, but I forgot it there. So I went to the Rondavel, got it, put it on the boat, and we went back and we fed that and came back. But in any case, everything was completely different the next day. The wind direction was different. The conditions were completely different. And I can't say to you now which of all the aspects, which caused the difference in the results for the next day. I spoke to Yanni that afternoon at the weigh-in. He said to me, well, at Loskop, for instance, they will go and fish exactly the same spot for 5 days. I thought maybe it's because we fished there the day. And Yanni said, no, they do it for 5 days in a row. But definitely, I said to Leah, I will not do it again.
Just a quick question, Dad. Uncle Rick said that they were fishing on 7 meters. What was the depth there on your hole?
5.
We
had to move in. I'd say the best part of about 150 meters further into the dam in order to get to 5 meters.
Okay, so just for the listeners, so what happens is the spot where my dad always, with the club comps where we usually go to, it's a little bay across from the Moelman Eiland. And we usually like to be like quite deep into the bay. And now, like what Dad said, like because of the water that's so low, now they actually had to go deeper into the 150 meters that my dad was talking about. Is like they need to go further deeper into the dam to actually get that depth.
Yes, to get the 5 meters. Yeah,
because I mean, if the dam is usually about, let's say, on 80-90% full, there's holes there that we get 8 meters quite easily. About 8.
Yeah,
I'll say about 8 meters.
What we try and do, I always say, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on fish finders. And I say, I've never been bothered with it. We got the fish finder there, and the only thing that I use on the fish finder is the depth. That's absolutely...
Depth and the temperature.
Yeah, but...
Depth and the temperature. I 100% agree with you, Barry.
But what I say, Rick, the temperature you can't do nothing about. You got the temperature that you got, and that's it. You can't do anything. But what I do is I put it on, and I normally look for a place where you get a drop off, and then where it flattens out. That's where I prefer to feed. But what the
Correct,
problem
yeah,
that we
correct.
got now with a level that is so low, um, that change where the drop off stops is too shallow. So now you get the flats and it's gradually going deeper. And I had to move on to that in order to get. Otherwise, I would have had to sit in something like 3.8 meters. And that to me was just too shallow. Then I think you're going to start catching small yellows and all those other horrible fish. So that's
Well,
why we were looking for 5 meters, and we had to go in deeper. But at the end of the day, I really think it was worth. But something else that I just want to say there, Saki, is I believe if you get to a spot that looks right to you and you feed it, then it's up to your feed to be successful to pull the fish there. I don't
yes,
need to go with my fish finder
yes.
and look for a school of fish and feed because there's a lot of fish at that moment. Because fish has got fins and they're going to swim away if they're not happy there. So I rather pick a good spot and then say, right, put my feed down and pull the fish to let the fish come to me instead of me going to the fish.
Now, well, that's the whole job of the ground bait, isn't it?
Yeah, I just quickly want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate on Uncle Rick's question about the experience that you've had on the bank compared to the big fish that you guys catch on the boat. Have you ever tried to actually feed the way that we do? I know at AHV and stuff like that, we are not allowed to feed like that, but on a place like, let's say, Staines, to actually go out with that little boat, the little inflatable boat, and actually go feed the way that we would on the boat, but fishing from the bank. What makes me think this is like if we look at some of the YouTube videos that's out there, we know for a fact that those guys do pre-feed quite heavily. Just for the fact that it is really expensive to film some of those episodes. So you don't want to go out and spend all the money to get a videographer, get all the days planned, get all the people there, all the guests there, all of those things, and then pitch up to the dam and not catch fish. So I know that they pre-feed. But have you ever tried it to actually feed the same way, but then just stand on the bank and fish?
Yes, well, we've done it as when I was a kid. That's what we did over December's. You would take a canoe and go and make a feeding spot, but the problem is then that you got to make sure that you're in deep enough water. Otherwise, you're going to catch all those other small fish in between. And that's where AHV, for instance, is nice because you got that deep section, so you can actually go if you could. I don't think they allow it. I don't think they allow canoes. I don't know, but in any case, if you can get feed on that distance where you can actually cast, I'm sure you will have a lot of success as well. The only thing to me is if a person fish off a boat, then you sit in a situation where you take all the pressure off the water. On the bank, you always got somebody else next to you also feeding and somebody going a little bit deeper and this one's going here and there. So if you select a place with a boat, then you're all by yourself and you and your wife both have got the outside pegs.
It reminds me of one of the comments we got a couple of weeks ago, where the guy was like, "Yeah, you guys catch those bags of fish on days where the dam has zero pressure." And I just commented, I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's why we have a boat. If there's pressure, we just drive to a place where there's less pressure." That's the whole point of
That's it.
of having 290s, or in Uncle Rick's
Yeah.
case, a 225 on the back.
Rick, Rick,
Hmm.
can you please run us through what feed you are using, quantity wise, and what it consists of, if you may, if you can, if you would.
Sure, sure. Barry, I also use the Kaboom Millies as a base. At this stage, the saltwater rules in a competition states that you can have 5 25 liters bucket of feed on the boat with you.
and 2 blocks per day. That doesn't mean it has to be millies, it has to be carp feed. If you choose to fish for barbel that day, you can have 5 buckets of minced chicken. But if let's just stick to carp fishing, I will make my 5 buckets. I'm a big fan of hemp seed. I cook a lot of hemp seed. I put it in there. Once that's cooked and nice and soft, I like to add liquid molasses to it afterwards. And, once the millies have split and they're hot, you add the molasses, it tends to suck it in. And, that's the basis of my feed. And those 2, as you say, 2 protein blocks. But I also wanted to say something that sprang to mind, Barry, just now when you were talking about Sunday wasn't as good as your Saturday. I mean, we had a scenario a couple of years ago when we were fishing an SA Championships at the Bloemhof Dam. And we all know how hectic the fishing can be there. I mean, that's complete tempo angling non-stop. So we had a fantastic Monday, a fantastic Tuesday, a fantastic Wednesday. And bear in mind that in those days, the feed wasn't limited. So we would, at the end of each day's fishing, before we hooked up anchors, we would feed again for the following morning. And when I say feed, I mean feed, like another 4 blocks of maybe 100 kilos of millies. And then Thursday was a blowout. Okay, so we couldn't go fishing on the Thursday. Everybody raced back to their spots on the Friday, and I'll be very surprised if more than half a dozen guys got more than 100 kilos on that Friday. So those carp in that feeding mode, like you had on Saturday, will wipe out those 4 buckets of millies, in my opinion, in a couple of hours. That's gone. There's nothing left. I think maybe the blocks are just holding them there at that stage, Barry. That's my opinion on that feed. Yeah. No, I mean, you had a genuinely a big school of big carp actively feeding, and you said you never had an opportunity where you had a dead patch. So that tells me that there's a lot of competition for that feed on the floor. So those fish are at that stage not fussy at all. They're just grabbing everything that they can. If you ask me, that's my opinion on that.
I can honestly say to you there that a person would think that, but something that was strange to me is the fact that I started with Soup 2 as a Muti. Leah started with a Strolic like last month. And I'm telling you now that it was a matter of half an hour, and I switched over to the Strolic as well. And we carried on with that because the fish were just onto that a lot faster. And then in the afternoon, at a certain stage, I thought, well, okay, let me just try, with the sun being up and bright, let me just try the Soup 2 again. The Soup 2 that I got on the boat has got a hell of a lot of fluorescein, and I add a lot of extra fluoro for it. I'm not scared there for small yellows or anything. So I've done that, and I put that in. And the moment when I did that, it was just chaos. Then I really climbed into the fish, and it was very good. So definitely, although the fish were feeding, you still had to find the right product to add to it. The right booty for us. It definitely just made it faster.
Oh yes, no, absolutely.
On that point, Dad, it's saying about the right Muti. Let's quickly just take a few minutes just quickly to talk about the giveaway. As you will all know, 2 weeks ago last week we gave away we did the draw for the Petit Janine and the X Factor, the 500ml Petit Janine and 500ml X Factor. We did get hold of Jan, so for all the people that commented, if we don't get hold of Jan, we did get hold of Jan. So, Dad, I assume you're going to get it to Jan probably
during the course of the week. I'll be in Vanderbilt Park and I'll give it to him.
And we'll definitely take a nice photo and post it on Facebook, on the Original Mutis' Facebook. Okay, so 2 weeks ago we did the giveaway with the half-liter Petit Janine and the half-liter X Factor, and the feedback we got from that was really positive. So we thought about bringing back the giveaway this week. So we partnered up with Western Accessories in Boksburg. They also have a branch in Krugersdorp and an online shop. So we managed to get a R1000 voucher from Western Accessories to give away this week. So all you have to do to win that R1000 voucher is just subscribe to the channel, and in the comments down below, leave a comment on what you would purchase with that R1000 voucher. If you were the lucky winner, what would you purchase? With the previous giveaway, I did not cross-reference the comments with the subscribers. I didn't have enough time. Unfortunately, I had some family obligations to attend to. But this time around, I'm definitely going to cross-check. So for you to stand a chance and be eligible for the R1000 voucher, you need to subscribe and then comment down below what you want to purchase with that R1000 voucher. So yeah, thank you for Western Accessories for supporting us in this giveaway. The giveaway will be running for 2 weeks. So all the comments on this video, again, this video and this video alone, even though it's going to run for 2 weeks, we will mention it in the next episode again, but the comments on this video is the comments that will be going into the draw. If you are already a subscriber, you can just comment. If you are not a subscriber yet, then you need to subscribe and then comment for you to be eligible for the R1000 voucher. But yeah, it's a R1000 voucher from Western Accessories. And remember, they do stock the whole range of original Mutis. They have the Carpo Fix. They have all the LB weights. So yeah, go pop in, go see what you would purchase, and leave the comments down below. Dad, but okay, let's go back to the episode.
Yes. Now, then the next thing that I would like to ask Rick, after the previous episodes that we had, every time we talk about the boat fishing, and I had numerous people phoning me, messaging me personally, that ask me if we can please explain how we anchor. How many anchors? What's a routine? How do we go about that? If you can tell us your way. I've never fished with Rick. I don't know how he's doing it. So I would like to hear from you. And then afterwards I can tell the people what we are doing. But I don't know if we're doing it right or wrong, but it's working. If you can please run us through that, Rick.
Okay, very first of all, for carp fishing, I think that's one of your most crucial parts of getting it right. I mean, we're all carp fishermen. We know the last thing you want is your rods and your baits and your traces moving around on the floor. That's okay for barbel fishing. It's not the end of the world, but it's crucial to sit as dead still as possible. Personally, I use what's called a Bruce anchor. You'll have to Google them. It's hard to explain. I'm sure the guys can. It's just a normal way you spell Bruce. Mine are 7.5 kgs. Yeah, mine are 7.5 kgs per side. And then I do add a chain. My chains are about 4 meters long on those anchors. That just helps to settle the anchors nicely into the mud or your whatever floor you're sitting on. And then obviously when you do get that slight sway from the wind, that chain just lifts a little bit off the floor and goes to sit again. It's not like direct to the anchor that it's going to pull you off the anchor. I see most of the competitive guys in the LTB, a lot of them anyway, use 4 anchors, which I think your dad does as well, use 4 anchors. I find with these Bruce anchors, I find that 3 is enough to keep me stable. So basically our procedure, we choose our spot on the practice day, which consists of our little marker buoy and our feeds in the water, so we know where we want the boat to sit. So my back anchor is just over 100 meters long. That's in fact 2 anchors because there's an anchor on either end and a buoy in the middle. So that gets dropped at basically a right angle to the feeding spot in a line like that. I then drive forward, I line the marker buoy up and my back anchor buoy up, and I drop the front anchor off the nose and I simply reverse up to the back anchor and connect it onto both sides and pull tight on the front. Luckily, my son's been doing it with me for many years, so, and my fishing partners, we work like a well-oiled machine. Everybody knows what's expected of them. I'm sure Barry can attest that it can get quite stressful at times when people are not on the same page. Yeah, but that happens, I suppose, in anything. But yeah, like I said, once again.
My dad says, go, 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 go. And I'm like, I don't know,
yeah,
are you
yeah,
talking
well,
about go left or go right? Is it the front? Is it the back?
I never knew it
yeah,
so
well,
difficult to explain to somebody what is left and right. Because I'll tell Leah, go left and
oh,
she'll turn. And then then Saki's with me on the boat and then he falls over because I open up and it's always, that is definitely the couple of minutes on the boat that is always stressful, I think, irrespective of who you are.
what I think is also worth mentioning here when we're talking about anchoring is reading your weather reports correctly and getting your nose anchored into the wind, because obviously any sort of a crosswind or is not going to be conducive to anchoring properly. So in a perfect world, I mean, if you look and the wind's going to come from the west tomorrow, try and have your nose in the west, because obviously that's the path of least resistance. You're going to have the least, the least messing around from the wind and moving on the boat. And I also think it's important to mention here as well that something we've been told by senior, safety officers and stuff at a sort of a salt bath thing. If you get yourself into trouble now, there is a statistic that says most small boat accidents happen on the anchor. And I think what's important to mention is that should a wind come out of nowhere or a violent storm, which has happened, and I mean Barry knows that very well on the Vol Dam, on these big dams, is the first thing that you should do is throw away your back anchors, because then naturally your nose will turn into the wind, which gives you a chance to breathe, put on a life jacket, decide a course of action. I mean, the first natural reaction is to panic when you get waves coming over the side or the back, and then the boat tends to spin around and you get an anchor in the motor, and that can be really life-threatening. So what these guys have stressed to us all the years, get the back anchors off as soon as you can, throw them out. It's got a buoy on it, can hang there, it can wait there for you until the weather settles down. Have your nose in the wind, you'll be fine. Don't panic, take your time, and just make sure that everybody comes out of it all right.
No, thanks a lot for that, Rick. I can just quickly run the people through what we are doing. We use 4 anchors. So we also got the main anchor line, which is 100 meters. Saki, what do we call the anchors that we use? It's got the 2 triangle blades that just swivel and digs into
That's
the mud. Also with a 2.5 meter
anchor.
heavy chain on. And
Yeah.
okay, that's what we are using. In any case, so we will drop that first one again with a marker buoy in the middle, and then we used to do the same with the back one. We had another rope. That one is 70 meters, 35. So we used to drop that parallel to the front one and then just pick that one up and go to the other one and pull it tighter to each other. But then it happened to me a couple of times where I'm just too far. I just can't reach that other rope. Yes, like I'm telling you, that caused for some funny moments where it was where everything was tense and whatever, but afterwards you can just laugh at yourself. Then eventually, about 3-4 months ago, I got onto the idea where I've got that main anchor line now. In the middle, you got the buoy with your clips, everything. So what I do now is I put that in. Then I go back to that buoy, and I put both my other anchor lines, clip it onto them, keep them apart, but go to the left first. Run that 35 meters out and drop that anchor there. Reverse back and go to the other side again till the rope is tight and drop it out there. And that works like a charm. But then yesterday, for instance, never a dull moment. Yesterday we took Dwayne out, and lucky we got this guest, and we're going to impress him now with our skills. And we did everything, and it really looked good. And now I go back to the ball after we got all 4 anchors in. I go back to the ball. We're going to pick up the ball now and have all 4 ropes. Just hook them onto the boat and pull it tight, and there you go. Just like, and I go to the ball. I've got to make myself a hook with a grapnel sinker that I made in order. You just throw it out and you hook that rope. And I throw it towards that ball, and there's nothing. And I throw it towards the ball, and nothing in that. And eventually, I said to Leah, just go to the ball. And she drove to the ball, and I picked the ball up with hands, and there's only a ball, and there's no rope. How that clip came off, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, that main rope is supposed to be a floating rope.
Buoyant.
Yeah.
Yes.
I should see it. Yeah, and I looked for that. I can't find the rope. Eventually, I took my one rod and I put a barbel trace on with that big circular hook, and I pulled it slowly, and boom, I hooked the rope. And now, at that point in time, I was not aware that is all 4 separate now, or what's the situation? When I eventually hooked the rope, I lifted up, and yeah, all 4 ropes are perfectly. And I still now can't explain to you how that buoy came off. But it came off.
The funniest thing is, it's not the first time this has happened. I said to my dad, this happened to me 4 or 5 years ago, where it happened to me, and I phoned him in chaos. I'm like, I just lost all our anchors. I lost the anchors. I lost the ropes. All the chain. Everything is just gone. And I'm sitting there on the boat, and I don't have the best track record when it comes to boat fishing. I have lost quite a few things, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I cannot afford to do this. And my dad's like, just take your rod and just try to just catch it.
Drag it. Yeah.
I mean, you know where you anchored. Yeah, you know where you anchored. It's not like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And the same thing. I didn't even. I took a little Rietvlei stroppie and I got it eventually.
I really don't know how that happened. But what I then do is I just afterwards reverse in towards that buoy, and you got all 4 your ropes. The 2 main ones clip onto the side of my, I don't know, what do you call that, roll bar thing? I've got clamps on the side where I clip them in, and then I take the 2 that's on the nose of the boat and I pull them tight, and I tied it onto the boat. So the boat is very stable. We can't complain about that at all. Everybody thinks it's very easy, but it's actually very technical, and it's my routine that you got to work out for yourself.
But something that I just quickly want to show the people that Uncle Rick makes look really easy, that's also not really easy, is that video that you took this weekend when Daniel and Uncle Rick put the boat back onto the trailer. I think that was quite a spectacular feat with a quite vicious
in the wind.
side wind, and it was quite impressive. So I just quickly want to I want to show the video. Let me just quickly get it. I quickly just want to show the people it's quite spectacular.
Let op net klaar gevoer. The sun is on the boat. Dad is on the side. In this crosswind, it's lucky tricky, but it shows you what experience is doing. Know exactly how to handle it. And there it's on the trailer. Right up that 225 Mercury's or Mercury doing the job. What was that? A minute or 2? They're ready for the next day.
Okay, so there you guys saw the right way to do it, and obviously it helps quite a bit if you have a vehicle that can handle a boat like that. There you can see the Hilux is more than capable to do that. My dad's Pajero is also more than capable to do that. So if you're in the market for a vehicle like that that it's capable of towing one of those big boats, small boats, caravans, whatever you want to tow. Don't forget today's sponsor, Gijs Motors in Pretoria. They could definitely help you out with a vehicle big enough to tow the biggest boat that you can imagine. They've got a wide range of vehicles. I saw a Hilux. Uncle Rick is driving the Hilux now. I saw a Hilux the other day available there from them with a bull bar and the snorkel and the winch and everything that you can possibly need. And I can promise you that's not the only vehicle that they have. So if you're in the market for a vehicle like that, don't look any further. Contact the guys there from Gijs Motors in Pretoria. They will definitely help you with that.
Sucking. If I can jump in there, I just want to say something. Somebody phoned me the other day, or not the other day, last week, during the course of last week, I think it was last week Wednesday, and said to me, it's also a boat angler, and we were talking about that, and he said to me, you know what? After last week's podcast, he was on the point he's got to buy his daughter a little car to go to varsity. And he thought, well, yes, like, you wonder if Gijs does have small cars, or are they only catering for the big boys with the big boats and whatever? And he went onto their website and he saw, yes, like, they got beautiful cars and everything. And he eventually bought his daughter a little car, and he bought it from Gijs. So definitely, the people must remember, it's not only big buckies, small cars, small runabout vehicles. Definitely Gijs is your people that's got everything.
But I have to say, like, there's with the new Cruiser 300, the Land Cruiser 300, Appel. I don't know if you know the artist Appel, Dad.
Yeah,
He did a video for
yeah.
them. He did a video for them the other day where they were test driving the new Cruiser 300. Yes, but that thing is just absolutely beautiful. I can just imagine.
Was that now Apple or the Cruiser?
That's the Cruiser, eh? I can just imagine that towing Blackboat. Out of all the boats at AHV, that I've never made a secret out of it, except for Griekie. Now Griekie did steal my heart a little bit, but before you guys got Griekie, Blackboat was a clear win for me for one of my dream boats. Uncle Rick, don't you quickly want to run us through what boat, Blackboat? Is it your first boat? What is your pride and joy? We know you've got a Mercury 225 on, but quickly give us, what boat are you running at the moment?
It's an Expression Offshore 600, Saki. It's a 6-meter boat, which is 19 foot in old terms. A monohull. The whole LTB thing gets to it's got nice space on it. It's a center console, so I've got space in the front. It's basically a walk around, plenty of space to fish on the back, and the 225 on the back is adequate for me. Before the petrol price went through the roof, I used to really give it stick on that boat, but now lately with the petrol price, 4,500 RPM is just fine for me. I'm not in such a big hurry as I used to be. But yeah, Saki, we really enjoy it. Yeah. No, look, Saki, that's not my first boat. It's my third one that I've done LTB with. When I was younger and that, I started with a small boat. I started with a 16 foot with 240s on the back. Then I moved on to a Sea Cat, which is obviously the catamaran hull. And then also when I first saw these Expressions, I fell in love with it, and I've had it for 10 years and I've never looked back. I really love it. So it's a fantastic machine. I really get a lot of joy out of it. My son's always saying, Dad, the next boat, what next boat? This is the boat. This is the one I want to keep. I'm not in a hurry to get another one.
No reason to go from that one. The same with Griekie.
No.
I don't think there will be a next. I think Griekie will be Griekie, and Griekie 2 will be probably a boat that I would buy. I don't think my dad will buy a Griekie 2.
I'd say, at the end of the day, Griekie is definitely Not the biggest, not the best, not the nicest, but for us it's more comfortable. And at the end of the day, it is to us giving us so much joy, that it is to us it's a really freaking unreal. We love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a magic boat. It's a magic looking boat. Looks great on the water. Yeah.
I can just tell. I can remember when we had the old boat. I was fishing one day. We did a club comp, and I was leaving. And as I was leaving, Uncle Rick came past me. But I assume that was when the petrol prices were still quite low.
Low.
Yes, I didn't know. Black boat came past me, and I was with an 85. I was gunned. I was flat taps, and Uncle Rick came past me, and he was just like,
Hey, but
"Whoa, yes!" I was standing. I was like, "Okay, let's go through the way." Boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
It was an absolute.
There's
beautiful to see.
There's a couple of the guys that are currently fishing essays and stuff that are now going up to 400 horsepower on these monohulls. I mean, that's, these guys are doing over 100 kilometers an hour on water. And I think once you've experienced that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 100 k's an hour on water is really something, eh? Yeah, some of these new modern boats. I don't want to pay the fuel bill, though.
I don't want to. I just wanted to say that. I think I'll skip on the fuel bill on that one. I'll stick to an 85 Yummy. I'm happy with that.
Two things that I just want to say quickly is, if you buy one of those boats, you don't worry about petrol. Then obviously I think petrol's the loss, or the petrol price.
Yes.
The petrol price, I think, is the least of your worries. But then the other thing, something else that a lot of people, another thing that a lot of people were asking me, and that I just don't have enough knowledge to tell them. So I would like to hear from you, and you could maybe teach me something there as well. Drifting for barbel.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How? What? Where? When? Can you give us some more info?
Barry, to be quite honest, I'm more of a carp fisherman, but I have done quite a bit of the drifting for barbel, also fishing for barbel off the anchor. The drifting is obviously done with an electric trolling motor. Let me start by saying a barbel, in my opinion, if you can't see him, generally he's not there. This is our experience on the boat. I mean, we've all got an idea of what we think barbel water should look like. Everybody tends to go into the smallest of little bays and little points and stuff, but barbel is very much a schooling fish as far as I'm concerned. Most of the times during the year they're in schools, and we all know that they breathe oxygen. So if you're not seeing them, they're not there. But by the same token, when I say that, the conditions are not always so easy to see them. I mean, if the wind is blowing and, look, if you get there and it's dead calm in the morning, anything that moves you can see from a mile away. That's the easy part. But once the wind starts blowing, that's where in the province that I fish in, which is in Mpumalanga, there's some of the guys there that are absolute experts in this. And I mean, these guys can catch a barbel in a road puddle. The drifting with a trolling motor, from what I've been taught, it's going to be very, very slow. I mean, I also battled a bit in the beginning, and then I asked a couple of the guys that do it on a regular basis. I mean, that boat has to be literally moving at under 1 kilometer an hour. So somewhere between 0.7 and 0.9 of 1 kilometer an hour and you can see that on your GPS, what speed you're moving, no faster than that. You do definitely get to cover quite a bit of water when you're drifting, and some days you get there and the wind is just ideal for that as well. I mean, a lot of times when we go social fishing, I spend time barbel, because sitting on the anchor all day for carp is great and a competition sort of thing, but to do that, let's say you're down at the dam for a couple of days with the family or whatever, you can't take everybody and sit on that anchor for 5 hours. So we just put a couple barbel rods at the back, put some drifting traces out. There's various different traces that can be made for drifting. But the most basic drifting trace is purely just an inline, with a swivel, a sinker, another swivel, and a hook at the bottom. It's pretty much straightforward. And that's normally done with plataners. Something I've been really getting into a lot on the social side of fishing is this popping for the barbel. That's really something that's great fun and great excitement. That's a very visual kind of a fishing. You see where those fish are, you see the takes on the surface, and that's something that we're really getting a lot of fun out, myself and my son. We tend to generally, when we go into competitions, we go and we feed on the Friday, and then once the feed's in, the poppers are on, and we spend the rest of the day practicing, on the practice day, popping for the barbel. A lot of plataners, which I know the guys are not allowed to use off the bank, but I mean, it's completely legal in the LTB facet, so plataners. Something I also learned with the LTB, when we used to go popcorning, you go with your five plataners, and you thought you had a lot of plataners. These guys are going with buckets of 100, 200 plataners for a day's fishing. It's crazy. But I get a lot of joy out of it, Barry. I also like to.
Can you quickly tell us when you drift, how do you hook the platting? What hook do you use, and how do you drift? How do you hook it?
I'm a big fan of using a bass style hook. That's sort of it looks like the old Van der Merwe style, but a bass hook basically is what I use. I like this is only, please understand, this is only my personal point of view. There's a lot of different views of this. I use a nice ball sinker, let's say anywhere between a B1 and a B4. That's inline. And the platty, because of the way the boat's moving through the water, generally under the chin and out the top of the lips is basically the best way to hook it. Otherwise, you'll get your straightest swimming track. Often when we sit on the anchor, we like to hook it through the leg, so he's got a bit more movement and stuff, and he definitely stays alive a lot longer if he's hooked through the leg. But through the lips, it drifts along nicely. It's got a nice streamlined shape. And baby, that's generally, if you get a nice wind across a bay that's 2-3 kilometers wide, you can spend 2 hours drifting that bay. It's lovely.
And if you pop, what do you put on for bait?
Well, traditionally they use the big cat poppers, those the artificials, but I tend to use platties as well with the popping. I see a lot of the guys in our province do it like that, but
me too.
Just something I'm used to fishing with.
Okay, so the technical difficulties continues. I think we'll swap over to Afrikaans, Dad. This is now the second time this has happened on an English episode where we swapped to Afrikaans at the end. Ek het nog oom Rick se rekenaar net 'n bietjie warm geword en ons weet dat met die kameras en die goed so dit trek hy nogal baie en goed so dit. So ons sny maar net af. So ek wil net voordat ons goodbye sê, wil ek net gaan nog een topic net raak rondom die boot. Iets wat nou met my 'n paar keer gebeur het, is rondom die 'n probleem wat op die boot optel. Maar jy doen nie moeite om die boot saam te sleep al die pad soontoe en dan kom jy daar so dan wil die engine nie start nie. Dan wil dit nie doen nie, dan wil dit nie gebeur nie. Daar het met hom Jannie die naweek gebeur. Doen al die moeite, gaan al die onkostes aan om die boot by die dam te kry, die voer daar te kry, dan sit hy daar so en die boot het gestart, hulle het gaan voer, teruggekom en daai ding wat niks geweet het nie. Daar het ek die boot gesleep, al die pad dam toe net voordat ek Vietnam toe getrek het, vir 'n naweek, ek het die tent opgeslaan, alles opgeslaan, die motor het gestart, alles. Toe ek daar by die water kom, boem, daai ding wou nie gestart het vir enigiets onder die son nie. So dit is nou maar iets wat die mense maar moet weet. Check maar jou boot voordat jy gaan, maar op die einde van die dag is daar's niks wat jy kan doen nie. As daar 'n probleem op die water opgetel kom, daar het hulle pale hele gesleep met Griekie toe ons Griekie net gekry het voordat ons Griekie getune het.
Ja. Weet aan die einde van die dag sakkie, soos jy sê, dis een van daai onvoorsiene dinge. 'n Kar breek, 'n motorfiets breek, 'n boot breek. Jy ry, dit is vreeslik baie keer dood eenvoudig maar net 'n klein dingetjie, 'n blokkasie in die injectors of iets in daai lyn, 'n petrolpyp wat toegeknyp word of 'n petrolpyp wat geperish het en wat lugsuig, 'n battery wat pap is. Yes, like batterye wat maak jou mal.
Konnektasies wat net nie mooi is.
Met Griekie, toe as die die situasie gehad waar dit een pypie is wat geperish het. En ons het hom, die pypie was eintlik net te kort en as jy die stuurwiel gedraai dan het hy getrek en toe bars hy daar oop en dis dit. Ons die pypie vervang en die probleme is opgelos. Maar aan die
En
einde
die
van die dag
terminals vasgemaak.
ons die terminals vasgemaak. Yes, like daai terminals
Dit kon net so
die terminals was vas, want die kabel waar hy aan die klamp vaskom, daai ding was nie behoorlik gekrimp nie. En dan maak hy kontak, maak hy nie kontak nie, of hy kry net nie genoeg krag nie. So dis klein goedjies, maar ongelukkig dis maar deel van die lewe. Ou moet daardeur werk. Op die stadium is ek baie gelukkig. Touchwood, laat as ons die sleutel draai, staar daai 2 Mercury's en ons gaan. So dit is regtig waar lekker.
Wat praat nou so van 'n kar breek. Nou as jou kar in daai proses is om te breek of gebreek het, of jy net heeltemal gatvol is vir jou kar wat die hele tyd breek. Ons sponsor vir hierdie week se episode Gys Spitzer Motors aan Pretoria sal jou kan sort. Ons gaan hierdie episode nou afsluit, so ek wil net dit afsluit en sê vir Gys Spitzer en vir sy span daarso in Pretoria. Ons waardeer die hele borgskap. En vir die mense wat by die huis is, as jy in die mark is vir 'n kar, gaan check hulle website, daar is regtig 'n groot verskeidenheid van karre. Soos my pa net gesê het, al die pad van 'n klein stadskarretjie, al die pad na 'n plaasbakkie, enigiets waarna jy belang sal stel, sal daar wees. En ek is seker van as daar ietsie is wat jy wil hê wat hulle nie op die website het nie, sal hulle 10-20 vir jou kan kry. Dis 'n groot span mense daarso en hulle het genoeg kennis. Soos wat meeste van die hengelaars wat ons hier op die podcast kry, genoeg kennis het. So ek seker van daai manne het ook genoeg kennis van die
Iets anders waar ek hulle met ons wil link is betroubaarheid. Betroubaarheid, diens, quality, it's all about the quality. If you want the quality
Op 'n of 'n dag is
vehicle,
hulle help ons. Op 'n of 'n dag is hulle help ons om hierdie episode uit te kry na die luisteraars toe. So dit wys jou dat hulle het tog en hulle sponsor al hierdie goed. Hulle sponsor baie van die televisieprogramme, hulle sponsor van die ander live shows wat jy op Facebook en goed kry. So die manne daarso is betrokke met die
Hulle gee terug.
dis nice om dit te sien. Maar in elk geval om te praat van terug te gee, onthou asseblief hierdie week se giveaway. R1000 Western Accessories voucher. Ek dink dit is 'n lekker prys. Ek hoop dit is genoegsaam vir die mense. Ons het bietjie Western Accessories se arm gedraai vir daai voucher. So ja, comment asseblief vir ons wat julle daarmee sal doen. Onthou asseblief om te subscribe. As jy nie gesubscribe is nie, gaan jou comment nie tel nie. Wat 'n posie?
die mense moet ook sommer net onthou dat as hulle nie in die omgewing van Western Accessories is nie of daar naby bly nie, online kan hulle enige ding kry en dood eenvoudig net skree en hulle stuur dit vir jou. En as hulle dit nie stuur nie, maar ek glo hulle doen. As hulle dit nie kan doen nie, dan tel ons dit op en ons stuur dit vir hulle met Courier Guy.
Ja, nee, maar ek het met sy uitgepraat en hy het gesê sodra ons die wennende getrek het, moet ek net met hom gesels en hy sal dit daarvan af verder vat. Hulle sal weet hoe om dit te hanteer. So ek wil vir Western Accessories ook net dankie sê vir die help met die voucher. Dad, dankie vir pa se tyd. Ek waardeer dit dat pa vanaand weer 'n bietjie saam met ons gesit gesels het. Die boothengel is altyd lekker. Ek kan nie glo dat die vorige keer dat ek 'n pa op 'n boot gesit het nie, het ek geblank. Ons sal daai storie maar los vir 'n ander episode. Maar ek sal definitief terugkom Suid-Afrika toe en weer op Griekie fish. Kan nie wag daarvoor nie, is altyd vir my iets om na uit te sien.
Dankie Sakkie. Ja nee, ek voel dieselfde. Ek kan daarom ook net vir mense sê, ek het vergeet om daar aan die begin te sê, dat daai average sakke van ons het gestaan op 88 kg oor die laaste 3 kompetisies. Dis per persoon. Ons het dit nou opgeskuif na 95, iets toe. 95 kilos gemiddeld oor 4 kompetisies tussen ek en Lia. So ja, ek dink dinge gaan vir ons goed en hulle sê ou in die golf ry. Jy weet die volgende moeilike dag is om die draai. Dit gebeur met almal van ons, soos wat ek het dit verlede week ervaar. My volgende hengel ekspedisie is nou onder in die Kaap by Visantekraal. Ons ry Vrydag af Kaap toe. En dan
So
die
maandag se
volgende
episode doen
naweek,
ons in die Kaap.
ja, ek is nie Kaap, maar ja, dis dit.
Ons sal hier wees. Genoeg nie die
Ja, die gas
katte die
is
sagheid
is 'n local yokel. En dan maar dan die tweede Maart is ek daar by Visantekraal. As jy nog nie geboek het vir 'n lead daar nie, kom bengel saam, kom wys my bietjie hoe word dit gedoen. Ek dink nie ek het regtig kans want daai manne praat van groot hoeveelhede vis en ek dink die fiksheid gaan dit dalk 'n bietjie vang. Maar in any case, ons gaan ons bes gee. Kyk of ons ten minste 'n klompie goeie foto's kan kry en 'n klompie lekker hengelaars kan ontmoet.
Alright, maar dan sê dankie vir julle tyd en julle ondersteuning by die huis. Hoop julle het lekker saam geluister, gesels saam in die comments afdeling en dan sien ons julle volgende week.
Cheers.
Cheers.